And welcome everyone to another episode of the Worldwide Soccer Podcast. My name is Simon Allen. I'm the Dalai Lama of soccer. Once again, here at the pub, having a good old time with the two lads. Next to me, obviously, Football Harry. What's up, Football Harry?
Football Harry's doing his thing and eating food.
Fantastic, yeah. Football Harry, what are you eating? Like a chef salad with some ham and bits and stuff?
That's exactly what it is. It's some ham bits, some cheese, some good dressing.
So not really any pub food here, but we're having a good time at the pub, so just let's do this. To the right of you, Alexi. What's up, Alexi?
Great to be here. Simon, great to be here. Appreciate the invitation again. You know, I hope your fans are enjoying these new sessions with two extra guys on the show. I know you've got a great following, and we're hoping to add some buzz to it to make it go. Not like you need any help.
Thanks, Alexi. Listen, the listeners have been listening. They like what they hear. They want to hear more, and hopefully when we get, we talked about it last week, when we get, Bangers and Match up and running, man, they're going to have us full time. But don't forget, listeners, you can always listen to me, the Dalai Lama of soccer, worldwide soccer, 15 odd years. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going, I'm moving shop and then coming back. Don't worry about it. But again, Alexi, Football Harry, let's talk about some football, shall we?
Let's do it.
We don't want to talk about pub food. We don't want to talk about cricket. We don't want to talk about curling.
No curling on this show.
All right. So this week, I think we'll talk about the Premiership, okay? Because quite honestly, I think the game of the season, the match of the season, was quite luckily for us, Liverpool versus Tottenham at Anfield. There's two Liverpool fans here and one Tottenham fan here. We'll forgive Alexi for being born a little bit north of the of London, but that's fine.
I'm from Chiswick, mate. West London.
All right. We'll forgive him for being from Chiswick and supporting Spurs.
Yeah, well,
I once asked Alexi if he knows where the Chiswick roundabout was, and he said yes. No joke there. Just really knew it. So lucky for us that I think really we're not gonna have a disagreement that this was probably, if not really was, the best match of the season in the Premiership. I want to throw the first ball out there. 2-2 draw. I would want to say that it was a 2-2 loss for Liverpool and a 2-2 win for Spurs. I'll throw it out to Alexi because he's grimacing right now. What do you say to that?
No, well, Liverpool, first half, I would say they were, dominating. Not fully, but Tottenham just weren't clicking, and maybe Liverpool should have taken much more advantage of that. But in the second half, I got to say that Tottenham, really started to dominate Liverpool. And I'm very happy in the way they played. I think it's going to bode well for their Champions League run.
See, I tend to like not see it that way because it was only because of, and I'll be very honest. It's the defenders of Liverpool that have always given me a bit of hell this season, including Lovren, which we have to talk about. But that game was essentially in the bag until, and again, I'll give credit to Tottenham for never giving up, but it was literally the defenders once again sleeping on the job in the dying minutes of the match. Harry, what do you think between chomps of salad?
I said it. I said Tottenham should come in and win this game in Anfield to have.
Did you say that last week?
I said it. I said Tottenham's got to come in and they got to beat them against all stats and odds and historical things that you guys want to throw at me. And to me, it was a win. They came back. They came out with a 2-2 draw.
So it was a win. So you're agreeing that it was a win for Tottenham?
I think it was a win, but it's still not 3 full points. But
a moral victory.
Correct.
Yeah, not a moral tie.
Yeah, and they played really hard, but I think they stole it. They stole it from Liverpool.
What are you talking about? Stole it?
They stole it.
You're ridiculous. That is a ridiculous opinion to have. 100%. Only because I don't think you watched the game. You were listening to it on the radio, weren't you?
No, absolutely not. So
on the wireless?
Yeah.
It took a nice Argentinian to win the Oscars, to be able to get that penalty, and.
That's something.
Sorry, let's not forget the first goal that Tottenham scored.
No, we're not going to take anything away from Wanayama at all. The Kenyan is an
amazing goal.
Obviously, he's one of the best Kenyans ever to play for the national team. Probably one of the best players, I think from Africa ever to play for Tottenham. You can email me at simonalsoccer@yahoo.com if you disagree. Yeah, that was a cracker of a goal, and that goal, by the way, Wanayama was essentially the guy that was distributing the ball to the players that were attacking. I was actually shocked that he took the shot because he was literally making passes to the flanks during the game, right? So to me, and I think that's what Liverpool was thinking too. If you look at the defenders, they were like, "Oh, Wanayama, he's going to pass to the flanks as usual." It's the game plan is pretty easy. Tottenham's game plan, to be honest with you, if it was an alphabet, it'd be like A, and maybe you'll get to B. It wasn't really. There isn't really much of a. There's not much there other than what the plans that they have. Nothing too Brazilian about them. But I thought, oh crap, he took the shot, and all credit, 10 goalkeepers couldn't have saved that one.
Absolutely.
All right, we're not going to take anything away from that one.
I think Wanayama surprised himself with that.
I could say that too. I could say that, but it was listen, if there was a goal of the year nomination before this game, it would have been someone else. But after this game, it's this one right here.
He hit it at the right speed.
Yeah.
He hit it on the right on the laces, and it went right in. I mean, it was an amazing goal.
The net. I think
Great
a couple of the commentators like the net must have exploded.
Mm-hmm.
I have no doubt about it. I think quite honestly, the defenders who didn't step up were expecting some sort of a cross to the flanks, as it was almost every other play that he did. Now, but the thing about it is, we're not worried about that one. We're talking about the big controversy, which is Dele Alli getting fouled. Number one, I think. So first off, the foul itself. And when it came out, I went on my Facebook page and said, well, finally it's happened. English players are diving in the box. All right? That's something as an English sort of fan, we didn't see enough of. Or we didn't see anything of, actually. English players didn't. Now, people will say that Kane was diving, Dele Alli was diving, and I just thought, well, what do you expect? It's a freaking Argentine manager. He's not going to say anything. But then I saw a little bit of footage of Pochettino essentially not sort of grimacing a bit, going, didn't quite like it. But Dele Alli getting fouled, dive or not a dive, Alexi?
It's
no diplomatic stuff. You have to play it by the book. Was that a dive?
No.
Are we talking about the last foul?
No.
About the divey foul.
He semi-dived in the penalty area.
Semi-dive. Okay.
Well, if I was a defender and I saw, an opposition trying to win something, essentially cheating,
yeah.
I wouldn't like it. But to be fair, none of the Liverpool players really threw up arms at that. From my memory, it looked like the game was carrying on.
Yeah.
I don't think he made a massive meal of it, but he did fall over.
Well, okay. Forget falling over, forget meals, unless you happen to be at the pub or listening to Bangers and Match, because that's when we talk about real meals. But to me, it was the game itself and the underlying current. Okay, we can talk about the match, we can talk about how good it was, how bad it was. The underlying current was people are now talking about English guys diving. Simply put, that has not been talked. That doesn't happen. That hasn't happened in my lifetime. The Premiership has all been about playing proper football, and Alexi said it quite right. When you dive, it's cheating. And I haven't seen that I haven't really seen it. It didn't really affect me until this particular match.
I'm surprised you said that, Alan, because...
We're talking about Suarez maybe last year?
No. One of the old school 70s guys, he used to trip himself up on purpose to get penalties, and that was the most...
Who was that guy?
I forget. I think he was he a Man City? Maybe he was a Leeds player. I forget.
Probably a Leeds guy, but then because
that is
a '60s Leeds player, yeah.
That is blatant cheating.
They're probably a '60s Leeds player, and they were pretty much all horrible players.
Well, actually, they weren't. But anyway,
they were kind of rough players.
I remember Gascoigne was like that.
No, I don't think he was. I don't think he was ever a cheat.
I didn't say cheat. I just
diving is cheating.
He would act. I get what you're saying, but he used to act a little bit here and there.
I think acting is acting. Now, anyway,
and I think that's what Dele Alli's doing. He's trying to act, and it's cheating.
The problem is, I think Dele Alli is actually good enough not to do that, which has essentially been the sort of go-to line for British soccer pundits.
But he's young. That's why.
Well, again,
he has a lot to learn.
Every person I've talked to today was like, "Well, what do you expect there's an Argentine manager there, and I just said, you know what, that's the pitfalls of having non-British managers in the Premiership, and obviously having not as many English players or Scottish players or Welsh players or Irish players or Northern Irish players in the league. A different category altogether. Thank you.
Well, you know what? I just got to tell you that doesn't sit well with me, because
amazing salad.
Good.
Pochettino isn't the type of guy that is going to tell his players to dive or do anything like that.
He's part of the scenery. He's good.
It's all good.
So, folks, I just want to let you know, guys and girls. I just want you to tell you. I just want to tell you what happened here. So the waiter comes along and he's looking at us, talking to the mic. And
he thinks we're nuts,
and he thinks we're crazy. And Alexi's just like waving him off like a baron, like, excuse me, you
like
may go.
I got something to say.
Yeah.
Like,
and
leave me alone.
he's looking, going like, what's going on? So this is the part of the Gonzo guerrilla style of podcasting that we do here on the Worldwide Soccer Podcast.
Listen, let me tell you something.
Go ahead.
If you're a striker and you have two defenders semi-try and chalk you in, I don't think he needed to dive. I think he could have just had a shot. Sometimes you've just, it's difficult, but I would have been upset if I was a defender. Let's put it like that.
I was very upset because I know for a fact I've seen Liverpool matches all season long, and Lovren is just not Premiership quality material. And this is an important game. And this is an important game for Liverpool, and this is an important game for Tottenham. I still don't think Tottenham really... in Tottenham's season is really much done. They have to concentrate on the Premiership, obviously. But Liverpool, I think so, yeah.
In the FA Cup, what are you talking about?
Yeah, but who cares? There's more important fish to fry. Thank you, sir. There's more important fish to fry.
Yeah, it's called the Champions League.
That's what I'm saying. That's what you have to do. That's why I think they should do that. And I just want to let you know, Alexi, just for the record, when we're at the pub, this signal means bring the check. It doesn't mean.
It doesn't mean
I
go
think
away.
You said close it out.
Yeah.
Close it out. You were trying to shut him up, but you asked him to close it out.
So I think this is more. This is both for both teams a very important match. I just want to give you some stats here. Look, 66 percentiles possession-wise for Tottenham. Okay, wow. Tottenham had 13 shots on goal. 6 of them were on target. Liverpool only had 3. So Liverpool, you can see that the economy of play has been really just absolutely great at this particular match. And I think when it comes to defending, the goal where literally the Liverpool forward, the Egyptian magician, essentially moved forward and just took on players. I think there was like 5 Tottenham players in front of him at one point and went down the side and he scored a goal. That wasn't a shabby goal to begin with. Nothing taking back from the Tottenham goals, but that was a lack of defending skills right there. When you have 5 people looking at things. The second thing I really want to talk about in this particular match is this particular match. I think we needed VAR. We needed a video assistant refereeing, and I hate video assistant refereeing, but this match was too close for the referees to essentially do it. The referees weren't fit enough. They weren't smart enough. And I hate VAR. I hate video. I hate stopping. And who knows what could have happened. But do you think, whether you feel that it's a good thing or a bad thing, do you think VAR would have changed the game on this one? Having the game stopped and the video referee come into play.
Which part?
All of them. Every part. The penalty.
The first penalty or the second penalty?
Second penalty. The first penalty. And we're talking about the penalties anyway. As a Liverpool fan, you have to say, well, man, this is 1 point. This is points lost.
I learned something in the first penalty that I had no idea.
What's that?
If there's a deliberate attempt on a ball, even though the player was on an offside position, it's not considered an offside.
Yeah, everyone finally got the rules this week.
I never knew that existed. I thought that automatically, if you're in an offside position and the ball is played, or an attempt on the ball is made to pass to you, it's an automatically.
Yeah, but half the referees in England were polled, and they said that was different. Everyone had a different opinion on that one. So again, it's one of those FIFA rules. To me, that
To me, I think that's an offside period.
Okay.
Deliberate attempt, no deliberate attempt.
Okay.
If you're in an offside position in the ball...
No, it's not. It's whether you're interfering with play, whether you're interfering with the defenders, you're interfering with the goalie.
I 100% agree with what you're saying. What I'm saying
That's
right
the law.
now is... I think the way it should be is if
you're offside, you're offside.
You're offside.
That's an old argument, my friend. You know, there's nothing new about that argument. It's 10 years old.
I think if you have an offside rule, and if you start nitpicking at it, just like
correct,
like you're saying, then how do you judge? You say hard enough to judge offside, right?
Yeah.
But now you got to judge like intentional.
Did he intend to play out the ball?
Was he going? Was he part of the play? These referees, granted, I think the English referees are doing a really good job. I mean, it's the toughest league in the world. But I don't want to go to the extremes here. But what about that, Zimbabwean referee that's going to be doing the World Cup? That's going to be a really tough thing for this guy.
Well, let's not kid ourselves. VAR would have helped when Diego Maradona handballed that
100%.
goal he scored. But the thing is that, sometimes football is all about tempo and momentum. And you don't want to stop that tempo and momentum, for every small decision.
I agree with you on that one. I've talked about this many times on the show, guys. I hate it. The fact that football is somehow a little bit better because of that human error factor, I love it. And I hate stopping. And I actually went ahead and actually talked about one particular VAR incident in the United States where there was 12 minutes of just the guy on TV just talking utter bullshizzle, and we were just sitting there going, I can't believe it. 12 minutes of just nothing on TV. So I actually agree with you. I think, everything you said I agree with. I just think that right now, as a Liverpool fan, I'm pretty hard pressed about this particular match. I wish VAR was, but next week when Liverpool are done in by it, they're like, oh, VAR sucks or whatever. That's one of the things.
Did you guys see the clip where the referee actually went to the sideline?
Yeah.
And asked the side referee if they asked the fourth official if he had seen the video. Did you guys see that?
He said did the referee
see the video?
Yes, the referee says, hey, did you happen to see it on TV? Because there's a TV there, right? It's not necessarily VAR, it's TV. So right there and then, it's like, wait a second, is this an unofficial VAR? What's going on?
That's incredible.
Absolutely,
I could not believe I saw that clip.
The fourth officials have a TV that they're looking at. Yeah. But again, fourth official's decision isn't the final decision. It's the referee's decision. So we've talked about this, and next week, Southampton, Liverpool. What's your take on that? Who's going to win that game?
Liverpool.
Okay, Alexi.
A couple of old Southampton players going back to their stomping ground. Mm-hmm. It could be a bit of a pride game for Southampton.
Yeah.
I think they're starting to play good football. Their results have got better since the start of the season, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. And I don't see Liverpool being that strong, away from home. I don't. I'll take that down as a draw.
You think that's a draw? Okay. So, next subject of the day. There's a bit of news that came out actually today. I don't like time stamping the podcast, but it is night time at the pub. Where's our waiter, by the way?
He came by once.
He's due to interrupt us again.
he did come by once.
Okay, so this today, the English FA essentially announced that they are considering stopping football matches during the winter break, much like the Eredivisie does, much like La Liga does, much like the Bundesliga does. So much like Germany, Italy, and Spain, where they have a nice Christmas break and the players go and they do whatever they want.
Yeah, but that's not what's going to happen here.
Go ahead, Alexi.
So they're not looking to change that great little season of 3 games in 5 minutes type scenario.
Right.
But after the new year,
yeah,
they're looking to get a break after the new year.
Right. So
whereas other teams usually break for Christmas.
Right.
But I would not want to change the Boxing Day soccer matches.
Right.
That little so tight where the league can.
That's going to run into it eventually. If they do it on January 15th, let's say, eventually it's going to be like, well, why not go to December 25th? But you're right there. But the reasoning behind it is what I thought was very interesting. For many, many years, folks like Jose Mourinho were like, hey man, we'll get screwed over in Champions League because when we get back, these guys have played 3 games in the winter, whereas Germany and Italy and all those guys, they've had a nice month-long break. one of the managers actually said that. I think one of the Manchester United managers I forget who it was, said, "Yeah, the reason we're losing is because the guys are playing too long and so on and so forth." So the foreign managers over the past 10 years have said, "Damn, we really need to have a break." But then on the flip side, Gareth Southgate this week had said, "You know what? I don't see any difference. Like, I don't think having a break in January is going to help or hurt the Three Lions, the England national team." So,
well, I got to disagree with that. Surely.
Okay.
I mean,
go ahead.
There's nothing like having a rest.
Yeah, but there's nothing like gaining 3 pounds while you're on that rest.
Well, look, the most important thing is you need to, fire up the engine again.
Right.
I mean, nowadays, especially on a World Cup year, where your players are going to be paying for an extra month, potentially in the heat, you want them to have a little break because. Now the difference between an ending of a season and the starting of a season and all the warm-up games you do and all the tours you go on, really, football's become a year-long,
of course it is,
event. So you need to have a break somewhere where the guys can rest for a couple of weeks and then recharge.
So you think that having a break would help the England national team somehow? I mean.
Well, I bet you if you ran the 100 meters 5 times in a row and asked to run it, the 6th one, if you had a break in that little between the 3rd and 4th,
I'd leave.
Your 6th one would be much faster.
I'd probably leave and go, I'm not doing a 6th one.
I mean, old school Liverpool players would tell you, I used to play all the games and then we'd go win the European Cup and
True.
That's what they say. But nowadays, you've got to be so on top of your game that if the opposition has had a break and you haven't, you're going to see a slight difference.
Yeah. Well, the guys who want a break, though, listen. I mean, I work around football players all the time, and when there's a break, they gain weight. They don't practice. They literally sit around at home and they don't do anything. Most of them, anyway. I won't say all of them. Some of the older ones will essentially, try to keep fit because, as you know, Harry, takes longer to lose weight when you get older. Look, I don't really see it. I don't really see that happening. I don't see okay now. Excuse me, Harry. I'll get you in a sec. To me, it's like, okay, what happens in that month off? Are you going to say, okay, you guys just take the month off, go on vacation? Or are you going to say, okay, national team players, you're taking the month off, but you're coming to training as well.
Of course.
So that kind of stuff isn't really, expressed in it. It's just, and I have to believe that the guys who are running the Premiership are like, we don't want to take a break, man. There's a lot of money to be lost in that month. And one more thing, which I think I've said a million times on my show. The minute you are away from someone's eyesight, right? The minute that you are not in the limelight, people go somewhere else. So if you're off for a month, suddenly it's like, oh, the Premiership's off for a month? Oh, wait, is the Singapore League playing? Or is the Zimbabwe League playing? I'm going to go over there and watch them, and then you're never going to come back.
Alan,
by the way, you guys know a lot about... You guys know, but you understand. If you're not around for a month, people look for other things to do.
Yeah, not with the EPL, my friend. I'm sorry.
You want to take that risk?
There's no risk to take. EPL is such a strong animal that nothing can affect it. Basically, nothing can affect it.
Yeah, I think I'm with Alexi on that, but there's an argument between. There's two arguments here between should they get the rest, are they going to be better, are they not going to be better, is it going to affect them, and all that. Look, in the NBA playoffs, some teams sweep other teams and they get an extra week of rest.
Has that helped?
Because, well, that's what I'm going to get to. And then you got another team on the flip side that went to a Game 7, and literally 3 days after that, now they're at a Game 1 compared to the team prior, swept their other opponent, and they've been sitting around waiting. Right? So a lot of times these teams come back from, a long rest and they're rusty. Right. Even though they're well rested.
You have to shake the rust off.
Exactly, right? And it happens even in the NFL when some teams have a bye week. It either, you can argue and say, well, did it help them rest all their players and have more time to get ready for the next game? Or are they a little bit rusty here?
Well, I can give you examples in Major League Soccer during the playoffs where a team finished lower and had to play an extra game, and the team they had to play after they played an extra game had 1 week off, and the team that had been playing those games came back and just trounced the team and went on to win. So there's literal. I mean, obviously there's empirical data on both the sides, I think, but. Again, do you want to risk it? No. Again, let's talk about the football stuff. Yeah, the football might get better, might get worse. Who knows? But really, the billions of dollars lost, I think, in TV revenue, in advertising revenue, in eyes on screens, I think it's just never going to happen. It just doesn't make any sense.
Let's not forget this, though. They're not really. You're saying they're going to be losing revenue. Why? They're still playing their 38 games.
Yeah, but so it's not that week.
I understand, but
so what happens when it's international and no one plays for 2 weeks? Are you saying that they lose money in those 2 weeks?
Well, okay, fair point. How about this? How about there's a month off? Don't you think they're going to throw in some internationals in there? So you don't really get you don't really get a week off or 2 weeks off anyway.
I think if you're an England fan, I think if you're a national fan, and I got to say I'm a national fan first, and then I'm a Tottenham fan. I want to see England do well in the World Cup.
All right.
And if I felt that English players would benefit by having a rest so they're much more fresh for the World Cup, then, that's what I would want.
Okay. Fair enough.
But not as a president or a general manager of a team.
Yeah, but
that's irrelevant.
I just don't even. But here's the thing: I just don't think that's going to be the case. If there's a month window period where there's nothing going on, you better believe someone in one FA is going to be like, let's schedule a couple of friendlies. Or let's do some other stuff. Or some guy's going to say, you know what, we've got a month off. Let's go to Singapore and do
Who's saying a month off? I'm sorry, you're using this 1 month like it's written in stone. I don't think it's going to be 1 month.
It's going to be a week?
Yeah, I think a week.
7 days, 8 days.
Is a week a good enough rest?
I think a week from what they have right now, which, I'm sorry, a week from what they don't have right now, I think a week...
So will 3 days be a rest?
Nah, 3 days ain't a rest.
So the magic number is 7 days, 7 business days.
A week, skipping a weekend, yes. Skip a weekend.
And don't forget, a lot of players on a weekly basis, guys, let's get serious. A lot of players on a weekly basis are playing with injuries.
Yeah.
They take injections. They wrap themselves up.
Yeah.
So
you have to consider.
So they get maybe extra physio working this time, an extra massage, and an extra cold bath.
Yeah.
So there's always something that you got to look at the positive.
I will try. I'm betting that it will not happen, guys. It's just, again, it's about the almighty dollar, almighty pound. It's just not going to happen. The whole thing, and I'm going to have the last word on this one. The whole thing is, football players now are taller, stronger, faster, bigger
squads.
Bigger. They got more players. Obviously, you're absolutely right. You got guys who are a lot more fit. You got better doctors in the organization that get them back quicker. So the reason it's that way is because there's a lot more games. They have to do it. So those owners of those clubs are going to go, no, sorry. I just don't even want to risk losing a week's worth of money, whatever it is. Just I'll buy another player and put out a B team if I have to, or I'll rest a player before I'll do that. So with that said, folks, my name is Simon Allen. I'm the Dalai Lama of soccer. To my right, Football Harry. Oh wait, Harry's giving me the bunny ears. What's going on, Harry?
The 2 minutes. We'd love to have the 2 minute rundown.
Oh, the 2 minute rundown. Go ahead, please.
We want to have that 2 minute segment where we could say anything we want.
Oh, that's right. Well, let's do it a minute and a half.
A minute and a half.
Okay, Harry, Football Harry, 1 minute and a half. What's on your mind?
Football Harry, back to Tottenham, Liverpool. I just want to do a shout out to Salah and say to every kid out there, never stop playing, and that's exactly what Salah did. Even though that was a handball in the box. He paused for 1 second asking for that penalty, but he continued and he scored a beautiful goal. And I say to any kid, till that whistle blows, just continue. If you're in an offside position, whatever you're doing, just keep on playing that ball. And that was a great example of how it should be done. Again, like I said, even though he paused for 1 second and he wanted that penalty, but that's it. That's my minute and a half. That's my 90 seconds.
Football Harry's minute and a half. All right, Alexi, your minute and a half.
Well, I'm just going to big up Tottenham here because they, to me, they could be real contenders for the Champions League. You're playing away at Liverpool, who are higher than you in the league, who score a ton of goals at home, and in the first half you're nowhere, and in the second half all of a sudden, you steamroller them, and that's what definitely happened against Liverpool. They got steamrolled, and when you're playing in the Champions League, that's exactly the type of attitude you need to get back into a game. So like Liverpool when they were 3-0 down at half-time against AC Milan, and what happened after the break? They scored 3 goals, won it on penalties. And if you have that attitude where you're always going to be fighting, just like Harris said, you're always going to be pushing to do something positive. They need Eriksen and Kane to be playing well, and Ali, but I could see him doing well in Champions League.
But that was not a penalty at minute 93.
All right, okay. So, folks, Simon Allen here, the Dalai Lama of soccer, next to me. Football Harry next to him. I have no minute and a half, man. I have a full half hour after this.
Oh, fair enough.
There you
next to Football Harry is Alexi. Folks, thanks for joining me at the pub and doing the show. And folks, listen out there. I know you've been listening for a long time. I want you to realize that we have. It is not. I want you to realize that Bangers and Match is on its way. So keep your ears open. All right, guys. Thanks very much. So, talk to you soon.
Cheers.
Ciao.
Alrighty, folks, I'm back. Simon Allen here, the Dalai Lama of soccer, just coming back from the pub, and now I'm sitting down talking on the phone with Worldwide Soccer regular. I don't even know. We're talking about pubs regular. I've got Phil Mitchell on the line. What's up, Phil?
Hey, what's up, Simon? What's going on?
Not much. We got just Major League Soccer. The season is around the corner. And it's been a very interesting, sort of off-season, to say the least. We've been talking about Zlatan being the top sort of name in the world coming here. We'll talk about that a few times. But what I wanted to talk about today with you were some of the other folks that are coming in from abroad to make the league a better place. And quite honestly, I think they're not going to have the name recognition as Zlatan, but they're certainly going to put their shift in, so to speak. There's certainly going to be some amazing players out there that maybe people didn't know about. So I know you know a lot about what's going on in Portland, but I wanted to sort of go down my list and see, if we could talk about a few things. You and I, we've talked about Atlanta United, being, I think, a quintessential foreign coached team or coached by a foreign player in Major League Soccer. Now, this is going to be a very pivotal year for Atlanta United because of them, everyone has been talking about, how well foreign coaches can now do in Major League Soccer. I mean, I've been talking about it for years, but now everyone's talking about it. They picked up Darlington Nagbe. We won't talk about him. They also picked up a Nigerian player from Portland Timbers. But I think the guy that we have to look to for Atlanta United isn't Greg Garza or any of the other guys. I think it's Ezequiel Barco from Independiente. Okay? He is an 18-year-old. I mean, when have you heard that one? An 18-year-old Argentine player coming out of Independiente, okay, who has had 8 caps for the U20 national team for Argentina. I mean, isn't that showing like really what all these sort of fans in MLS have been sort of crying about all this time, like bringing young South Americans? What do you think?
Now, here's a sentence that's been written about him.
Yeah.
Now, remember, he's 18 years old.
Yeah.
This is what has been written about him.
Yeah.
Most recently, Barco helped lead Independiente to the 2017 Copa Sudamerica title, beating Brazilian side Flamengo.
Yeah.
3-2 on aggregate.
Yeah. Amazing.
Now, he's 18.
18, yeah.
He's quoted as lead.
Yeah.
That says something about the kid.
That it does, and I think that says something about having a foreign manager that has a big Rolodex, at Atlanta United. We're not going to even talk about like Jose Hernandez who came in from Caracas, who's a 20-year-old Venezuelan, okay, who, by the way, is going to be fighting for a spot with American Greg Garza. How's that for weird, right? I mean, there's an American
Now, to go into even more detail about this kid,
yeah,
where this is where Greg Garza has even more to compete against. this
Ezekiel
guy
Barco,
scored the determining goal
right,
to win the aggregate championship from the spot.
Yeah.
So it sounds like this is somebody where the manager has confidence in him taking penalties. And if you've got a left back defender who can do that at 18, this is going to be a real interesting thing if Darlington Nagbe is going to be on the pitch at the exact same time as this kid.
Yeah.
There's going to be so much speed on that side of the pitch. When you throw in the rest of the cast of characters that play in Atlanta, who's going to actually play defense?
Well, they picked up.
The only thing that comes to mind is speed, finesse, and attack.
Well, they picked up Franco Escobar from Newell Old Boys, who's a 22-year-old defender. So just imagine just what's going on in defensively. You got Michael Parkhurst, obviously the captain of the team, literally surrounded by South American players in defense who I think are going to do very, very well. And it wasn't that. I don't think Atlanta was lacking anything in defense last season, right? I mean, I think they did very, very well for whatever it's worth. But I guess that's something that Coach Tata wants to shore up. And we'll be honest. I mean, we'll be very honest. 2017 was a great year. I'm trying to remember what their sort of goals for was. I take it back. It was a very bad year for defense. No, actually, it was very good. It was sort of in the middle of they only allowed 40 goals, and that wasn't really too shabby. I mean, Chicago Fire allowed in 48. Montreal Impact on the bottom of the list. Philadelphia Union 47. So it wasn't that shabby. So they were, like I said, they were shoring up their defenses already, and I just don't see, again, how Atlanta United are not going to make playoffs, and they're going to definitely make playoffs with these players. They've certainly picked players that every fanboy, every real fan, every person who's been watching MLS since day one wanted, young South Americans. I just kind of see this as a no-brainer for anyone picking betting. I think that's fantastic, and I think Ezekiel Barco might be the guy that we're going to be talking about. Probably, can I say, even more so than Darlington Nagbe? What do you think?
Well, I mean, it totally could. I mean, when you've got a kid with this much experience, but also with this amount of success at their age, this is when you start, asking yourself, is this just the kid that's the winner? You know what I mean? Like, you hear about people describe this. Well, that guy's a winner. He wins wherever he goes.
Yeah.
And is this going to be attributed to this kid or not? And if so, I mean, we all know what kind of dangerous, roster that Atlanta has. It's, again, like I said before, I mean, hopefully they shored up the defense, but that was kind of like their issue is like they'd score in buckets, but they'd allow buckets too.
Yeah.
And so they would draw a lot of games where they could have easily have won.
Yeah.
But, but that kind of goes hand in hand with that real aggressive style that Martino was using with a lot of the overlapping runs on the sides. And if you forget to realize that someone needs to hang back, you've left your center defenders hung out to dry, and in some situations in MLS, you're going to get burned bad.
And I think Atlanta's going to be deadly. I think Atlanta's going to, just by the fact that they got this great coach.
They're going to be absolutely deadly. Yeah. I wouldn't want to play against them.
I mean, yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous with what they've been able to put together in just this short period of time. Speaking of offense, is in Portland, Nagy leaving, and I'm not suggesting that Andy Polo is going to be the replacement of Nagy, but this individual, this guy is quite attractive.
Yeah,
I got the opportunity to watch him play, and I mean it was preseason, but it just seemed like his presence on that right flank I didn't really see any decisions that were like ill-fated or poor. He seemed to make the right choices. Like in some moments, you can realize that maybe there's a little bit of rust to like polish off, but he seemed to have this element where if he does end up being in the top 11 for Tracy, this offensive.
Okay, so let's talk about Colorado for a second, Phil, because Colorado have gone a different route. They haven't gone to South America. They've gone back to the old sort of go to Europe sort of stance. And they've gone out and gotten, I think, guys with a lot of sort of this sort of second division European experience. They picked up Jack Price from Wolverhampton Wanderers. Jack Price is a 25-year-old midfielder with about 7-8 years with Wolverhampton Wanderers. Seen a lot of games, a lot of wet, cold games. And he's brought into Colorado to essentially shore up the midfield. Alongside that, the folks at Colorado who I think are going sort of that rough and tumble route. They brought in Tommy Smith, who's a New Zealander who played at Ipswich. They've also brought in Mike Grella. We're not talking about the folks that have been here, or the American folks. We're talking about the foreign folks. But Mike Grella is an out-and-out Leeds United lower league player in England, and I really think that this particular sort of transfer window, and I'm forgetting about. I'll tell you who I think is going to make a big difference. But anyway, transfer window. They've gone what I consider like the second division or the lower league route to bring in players. And I think the one guy, and I can tell you firsthand, that is going to do really, really well, and people aren't really talking about him, is a guy that was essentially a Scottish international, 26 years old, not in any plans of Scotland whatsoever, played for Rangers, but he's also a Liverpool guy, and that's Danny Wilson. And Danny Wilson is a classic, solid Scottish centre-back who I think they kind of need at this point. Colorado were doing well with a chap by the name of Jermaine Jones playing sort of that central role, and I think this guy is not, obviously I'm not going to compare him to Jermaine Jones, but this is a guy I think can go in there, right, with Tommy Smith, with the likes of Edgar Castillo, who's an American guy coming in from Mexico, with the likes of all these other defenders that, and by the way, they got a lot of defenders, and I'm more interested in who's going to be scoring goals at Colorado Rapids.
Think him and Schoberg in the middle, right?
Yeah.
Him and Schoberg in the middle is going to be a really, really tough base of a spine to break down.
100%. Yeah.
That team's able to hold things together.
Yeah.
Because you also, like you said, you've got Danny Wilson, so it pretty much could be, Wilson and Price and Schoberg as this triangle at the base.
Right.
That could be something to reckon with big time, as well as the other guys that they have on the roster at that position, like Eric Miller. He's you had a lot of experience in the league
I like what Colorado's doing at this point. I really do. I like Anthony Hudson too. Anthony Hudson is, I think, if anyone was just to look at him, he's a guy that has to deal with. He's been dealing with, dare I say it, with all due respect, lower league players. When he was coaching New Zealand, that's not exactly top-notch players there from the best leagues in the world, and I give him all due respect. When he was coach of Bahrain, he wasn't dealing with top-notch players. I think the guy knows how to get the best out of these lower league players, and he certainly picked up with all due. I don't use lower league as an insult in any way. I think that's a really good acquisition. That's not a crappy player in Danny Wilson, and there was definitely a need for a proper centre back pairing.
Well, look, they got a pretty solid roster when you start looking at it player by player, and what role do they fulfill? And they've got youth in the right places and experience in the right places. Mm-hmm. They got Jack McBean. You know what he's going to provide.
Well, again, Jack McBean was a guy that essentially played here in LA, and we know what he is. He's not LA Galaxy material, but when they ship him off to these other teams, the ratings taker teams, as I call them.
You know when he's going
he's going to do well.
He's going to be out there. He's going to be putting out 110%.
Well, that's a given.
You know, and that's because that's just within his personality. But that's just one of the guys that's on this roster that could just very well have a moment to stand out. There's also, remember, they signed Stefan Eigner, who came out of the lower divisions of Bavarian soccer that I got to play in, and came through the 1860 youth ranks.
Yeah.
And so, he put in, it looks like, just a handful of appearances at the tail end of the last season.
Yeah.
And so, he played in 9 matches, getting about 488 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Got 2 goals and assists. Not too bad.
Not a shabby. Not a shabby acquisition, not a shabby player to say the least. And I think, quite honestly, I mean, going that sort of mid-table or lower league European route, it's either gonna really just sort of fan the flames of the boo boys who say, well, this is not what the league's about, or if they do well, and we've seen how a good manager can change it around. Let's not forget that a second division English manager won MLS Cup with Colorado Rapids. I think it might do well. I want to talk about, there's so many players coming in from South America, but I kind of want to talk about some of these guys that, like, for example, Brooks Lennon, who's an American coming in from Liverpool to Real Salt Lake on a free. On a bloody free. I mean, that has to be a bit weird. I mean, I know he was on loan, but coming in, I'm not quite sure if that was the right move for a team like Real Salt Lake, right? And I'm not sure it's the right move for a guy like Brooks Lennon, who, quite honestly, I think needs to be playing European football to get to do well on the U.S. national team. What do you think? He's gone.
Yeah, I mean, I've always taken the position of the more talented players that we could possibly have playing, for the United States. If they're playing overseas, I'd like to see that happening. Those leagues tend to, in my opinion, have a better methodology in making a more solid player. I feel like in some circumstances, a lot of the American players are a bit soft for this caliber of play.
Right.
And some of these other guys that come from the European leagues have a swagger.
Yeah.
When I think of like Ernie Stewart, when he played, a guy like that.
Yeah.
Or Thomas Dooley, where they lacked skill, they had that mental toughness,
right,
aggressiveness, and we don't see a lot of that. And so, and that's where I think success comes from. If we want to start looking at competing internationally again, we're going to miss out on the World Cup. To get there, what do we need? We need people that are there that have that swagger, that mental toughness, that, like, we don't care who the hell you are, we're coming at you attitude. And I don't see a lot of that right now. I see a lot of deer in headlights and guys who are getting a lot of hype who haven't shown to even deserve the chance, but there really isn't anyone else to give the opportunity to. So it's kind of like a do or die scenario at the moment for a lot of positions.
I agree, and I think that with all these foreign players coming in, there really shouldn't. We know we can sort of guess, kind of. The ownership group is not really worried about the American national team player, right? They don't give a flying rat's ass, in my opinion, because if you were good, you'd play here, or if you were really good, you'd play abroad. So you should be playing abroad. And so let's put the notion that any league in the world, their responsibility is for the national team player. Going back to this particular player we're talking about, I'm on your page. I prefer the American players to go abroad, not because they're not going to get a good education here, just they're going to get a better education somewhere else. So let me also talk about the one player I think, again, coming from Europe, but he's not actually European. He's actually a CONCACAF player. A guy by the name of Daniil Henry. Daniil Henry is a player that I think started out here, in Major League Soccer in Toronto 8 years ago. From there, he, I think 5 years into it, got transferred to West Ham United, and then throughout the his 2 years or 3 years after that, he got loaned out, I think first to Blackburn Rovers, where, again, not really going to do well there. And then he went to the Danish Superliga, and now he's back. He's still on the Canadian national team roster. He's still only 24 years old. And I think when it comes to this particular team, and with all the sort of storied sort of work they have to do, I think Daniil Henry is going to be the player to watch for the Vancouver Whitecaps. Obviously, Kai Kamara but I think he's the guy with a bit of European experience. He's been coached by the best. He just hasn't played, I think. So I think he's the guy that's going to do well. We can talk about Efren Juarez, who I think could be the guy that's going to do well for Vancouver Whitecaps. He is a guy, if you're a Scottish Premiership fan, he's a guy that for about 2 years played for Celtic, then he moved to Spain, came back to Mexico, and now at a ripe old age of 29. Like, man, can you believe this, Phil? The Mexican players back in the day when back in the 90s, 96, when I first watched this, these Mexican players were old-timers, old fogies. These guys are still coming in while they're, kind of sort of in their prime, 28, 29 years old. Efren Valdez is 29 years old, has obviously Mexico experience, national team experience, and I think he's going to be one of those guys where he can play, in the midfield and as a right back. So, I mean, there's a guy that I think is going to shore up the defense and maybe even, close games out when the Whitecaps are winning. That's a guy that's going to be, I think, is going to be watched, I think, this season. What do you think? Well, what do you think about the Whitecaps?
Well, one of the things that the Whitecaps have been lacking is a consistent threat that they can have on the pitch that will give them the necessary goals,
right,
or to even compete.
Yeah.
And if this guy is able to compete,
yeah,
at this level, as his reputation,
yeah,
has given him, then that's great. Especially if there's Kai Kamara to have also there to be a source of competition to earn your spot. So,
yeah, well,
in reality, his presence is going to be a positive for the club, regardless of what could happen during the match.
Listen, imagine this: Kai Kamara and Freddie Montero up top, right? Let's say Kai Kamara scores 10 goals. Freddie Montero scored 14 goals last season. That's 24 goals between two players. You got these new guys coming in that are shoring up defense. I just see that. I know there's a lot of competition in that area, but I really think that these guys could very, very well do a lot of work. I mean, do a lot of damage. In the league, and I think it can surprise a lot of people.
Nope. I never count the Whitecaps out, man.
No.
If there's any club I've seen more live in my life,
yeah,
besides the Sounders or the Timbers, it's the Whitecaps, and that was that period of time, back when they were in the APSL when they first came back as the 86ers before they went back to the Whitecaps. Mm. I've been watching these guys. You never count them out. You never can. They always have something up their sleeve, and they still have Eric Hurtado with on the roster. And
absolutely,
nothing but just I don't even know how to describe his speed. He is crazy fast. So you got they're not going to be showing any sign that they're going to be letting up anyway on offense. With Kamara, Henry, and there's even Alphonso Davies. And that guy is like the wonder child of the league. That's another person that I would be really, really interested to see his development, since he's also Canadian. The Canadian national team is going to have some really interesting talent that is going to be a part of their roster more than likely when it comes to the next qualification cycle. So
I'll tell you this though, the only thing that I want to sort of do a sort of a caveat on is that Freddie Montero is being returned back to Taijin Taita. So the assumption that I made that they're going to be playing together is purely, speculatory. But
that kind of stuff happens.
Yeah.
I mean, but when it comes down to it, that's what happens when you get a guy on loan.
Yeah. No, I mean they need to get back. I mean, I was assuming that they're going to keep him, but I don't know. But the whole idea for me is that they need to play together somehow. Kai Kamara and Freddie Montero need to play together. Maybe that's why Kai Kamara was brought in, but I don't see that. I don't see a good. Well, all right. Why don't you email me at simonallensoccer@yahoo.com? simonallensoccer@yahoo.com. Listen, folks, and Phil too. Who do you think I think, other than Zlatan, and I'll give you one guess, is going to be the most exciting person, see, notice I didn't say player, to watch this season in Major League Soccer?
Besides Zlatan?
Yeah, but besides Zlatan, who do you think I am going like, wait a second, who do you think I think is going to be interesting to watch?
Oh, man, that's really hard to say because there's so many amazing players that are in the league.
Yeah. But I didn't say player, though, did I? I didn't say player. I said something else.
Well, exciting person in the league?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I don't know, dude. Probably like to find out more what Beckham's doing.
That's a good guess. I mean, you've known me long enough. No, I think it's Remy Gard. I think it's going to be the French manager for Montreal Impact. I think it's going to be that guy. And let's be honest, he needs to do bloody well. This guy's not a slouch in any way, shape, or form. And I think he's going to look around and say, "Hey, man, I got this team, and I need to do well. I'm French. Patrick Vieira's doing well. The foreign guy in Atlanta's doing well. I need to do well, and I need to make sure that somehow I'm going to win." And the idea that the Impact can't do well is a bit foreign to me, for lack of a pun, because I think they got some good players. I think the manager is pretty good. I just don't know what didn't click last season. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's gonna be a tough one.
The Montreal Impact, they're a real interesting club because they had that real deep run in the Champions League that really showed everybody who they really were. It was almost kind of like they didn't care about MLS. It was like they focused primarily on that.
Yeah.
And they almost won the darn thing.
If
they were able to replicate that again in the league, that would be great to see.
Yeah.
I mean, they have so much talent on that squad.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And that's what I think. I think, you look at the talent, you look at the manager. And by the way, I'm strictly going by his previous experience, right? I'm also comparing him to what can be done, let's say, like in the likes of Patrick at New York City FC. And I'm saying to myself, all right, what are you guys doing? What has Montreal Impact done to bolster up, their team? The one South American player they brought in, was a guy by the name of Vargas, 20-year-old, again, youth player. He's on the horizon for the Chilean national team. the World Cup, Chile's not going to be there. He's been brought in, I would suspect, to score goals. Now, if you look at his time in Chile, he's scored 1 goal every 3 games, okay? That does not leave me with a good impression of the guy, but then I'd have to think to myself, maybe Remy Gard knows something I don't know. But the rest of the players that he's brought in, and get this, the rest of the players he's brought in, I think they're so-so. I think they're just sort of averagey kind of players from around the world, and I'll name them off. We won't even worry about the Canadian players, but he brought in 2 Los Angeles FC players on a trade. He got them in, which I thought was ridiculous. He brought in probably the LA Galaxy's worst ever goalkeeper, who's also going to the World Cup, I believe. He brought in, I think, an unknown player, because I certainly don't know who he is, Zakaria Diallo from Brest, right? A 31-year-old defender from the French league. He's brought in another player, I think an Egyptian player. And I think at one point, I'm looking at his decision he's making. I think to myself, maybe he knows something that I don't know, but it just doesn't feel like it's going to work. Safir Taider from Bologna. Again, a central midfielder. He had his youth career at Grenoble, and then he's literally... he didn't do well in England, and quite honestly, I think he's got, as a central midfielder, his best time was at Bologna. How he got here, I'm not quite sure. But I just don't see this this happening. And he's an Algerian. Did I say Egyptian? He's an Algerian. So we'll see what's going on with that. Maybe, who knows? So, again, the manager strikes me as a guy to watch, but the players that he selected are sort of a head-scratcher for me. Because if it was anyone else, they would have picked these young South Americans. He's picked a sort of a mishmash. And I'm thinking to myself, man, this may be the ultimate rope-a-dope, ultimate hustle. Maybe it's something amazing. These guys are amazing. We just don't know about it yet. And that's me.
I think you're right. 'Cause as I'm going through this roster,
Right.
I mean, there's just a few names that are ones that stand out that we're pretty much used to hearing.
Yeah.
But the rest isn't really, you've got Piatti, Duro, Mancuso, right?
Yeah.
That guy Jackson Hamill at the end of the year this last season was making just the stupidest awesome goals. But the rest of it, you got Marco Donadell, but he's more known to getting stupid red cards than anything.
And by the way, I don't even want to talk about the LA Galaxy because until pretty much the Zlatan announcement that he's going to come, we were just like going, man, this has got to be the weirdest thing. Chris Pontius coming was a bit of a godsend, I think, because I like the guy, I like the player. David Bingham in goal. Thank goodness we got rid of the goalkeepers. Carrasco, because quite honestly, I think his wife wants to be in LA. But there wasn't really anything, I thought was like, wow. It was until then I knew, like, okay, they need to focus. They need to get players that can focus around Zlatan. But I want to go back to my original thought. I think the player to watch this season, without a doubt, is Ezequiel Barco, the Argentine 18-year-old going to Atlanta United. The newest player to watch, I should say. Who do you think? What's your take on that? Who do you think is going to be the player to watch?
Well, the more I look at that kid, the more I really like him.
Yeah.
It's going to be real tough to really say because it's not young, but I would really, really like to see if Vela is able to be the leader at LAFC that I'm hoping he could be. I'd really like to see how the city of LA, at least in the neighborhoods that support LAFC, gravitate towards the leadership of that club. I want to see that unfold. And so he's the central focus of it. but in this kind of a role, it's going to be unique. And I'm really curious to see how he and the rest of the club respond to that, because the city's hungry for that, and so that's kind of where I'm at.
Well,
besides, what happens in Atlanta, I mean, that team as a whole, not just the kid, but that team is going to be something different this year.
Well, I kind of like, LAFC for what it is. I mean, until the Zlatan, sort of announcement, I was like, wow, this is looking really good. You got Laurent Simon, coming in as a defender. Walters, Zimmerman's coming in as a defender. Taking a playbook out of Caleb Porter. Bradley picked up Yao Moutinho, from Akron Zips, which I thought was pretty funny. But then you got a proper defender in Steven Beitashaw, which I talked about a couple of weeks ago. You got, so you got a midfielder in Benny Feilhaber that, at one point was top notch for the U.S. national team. Who knows? This could be it. And he's also picked up.
Imagine a midfield with Vela and Feilhaber. That's almost hard to imagine, but it's going to happen.
It's going to happen, yeah. But then you also have, the DP Diego Rossi, who until he showed up, to L.A. I don't think half the people, if not 90% of the people, didn't know who the heck he was. One of the things I thought was interesting was Omar Gaba, who I believe played with Bradley when he was the Egyptian national team coach. But it's looking like a proper team that the guy is building from scratch. Is it as exciting as Atlanta United? That remains to be seen, but I don't know. Is it more exciting than Zlatan Ibrahimovic? It remains to be seen. It's going to certainly be the best derby in the league, don't you think?
Oh, by far. I'm excited by the fact that I'll have the opportunity to go and check out both teams this summer.
Yeah.
Because I felt that this league has always been centralized around the LA franchises, and getting a good taste of what the league is all about is to go to some of the golden standards in the league. So being able to go to games in Seattle, go to games in Portland has been nice, but the games in LA have generally been well put together events that I've had fun going to, and so I just feel that being able to watch this organically, like you said, built from scratch, a scenario with LAFC happen, that in itself, I'm highly interested in.
I want to end this segment.
They called them an exciting team.
Yeah.
Well, I want to see them play first.
Of course. I appreciate LAFC essentially going through the list of guys they can buy and not picking any LA Galaxy, ex-LA Galaxy players. I thought that was a very smart move, whether it's by choice or by luck, but I think it's a very smart move on their part. The technical stuff and the coaching stuff, we won't talk about their history in LA, but as for what really counts, the guys on the pitch, I think that's gonna fuel a lot more passion and a lot more rivalry if those guys aren't literally walking across the city to join another team. And I think it was really a smart move. So we'll see. I'm gonna end the show with Phil. That's our 30 minutes, man. You wanna keep going and talking about the last thing, or should we just we should end it here. We should end it here because we're going off on a high. We're going off on a high. So with that said. I want to go ahead and bid everyone a fond adieu. On the phone with me, I want to thank again Phil Mitchell. Phil, thanks for joining me on the second segment of the show tonight.
Hey, thanks for having me on. It was fun as always. Not often I get to share this perspective with a whole lot of folks, so it's a pleasure to share it with you.
Let me tell you right now, I think there's going to be a lot more changes coming up between now and the end of and the beginning of the season, man. I think we're going to see a lot of things. We're going to see, like, preseason games where we're like, why is this guy playing here and there? So we'll have a lot more to talk about regarding this subject. And you know me, I'm an MLS guy. I want to thank Foodball Harry and Alexi for joining me in the first half of the show. I want to thank you all for tuning in, because without you, I'm simply talking to thin air. And I want to give a big shout out to all my relatives in England, my mum, my brother in New York, and everyone at the sound of my voice. Thank you ever so much. It ain't tricking if you got it. So peace. And why don't you listen to this music? It's from my friend Shawn, who's a great songwriter. I want to play it for you, okay? Bye-bye.
This is called The Water Will Rise.
By Shawn and Dylan.
I'm Shawn.
I'm Dylan.
All right, here we go. The water will rise to meet itself. I hope that you like your reflection. Be a poor man or one with much wealth. To me, it's all simply simple perception. The water will rise to meet itself. Try to swim through it with good intention. Come from the heart with everything that you start. You know you'll be the product of your own invention. So hold on tight, my friends, while the water closes in. Can't do anything but swim. So jump in. That's right.
You should.
The water will rise to meet itself, and some are gonna drown in the collision. Since the dawn of time, you know, men have taken sides along lines that have no right decisions. So hold on tight, my friends, while the water closes in.
Yeah.
Can't do anything but swim, so jump in. Yeah, you can dance it. Water will rise to meet itself. Try to swim for where you're swimming. Don't go down as the circle goes around. You know you'll be getting back what you're giving. So hold on tight, my friend, while the water closes in. We can't do anything but swim, so jump in. No, we can't do anything but swim,
so jump in.
So jump in. Good job.
just a reminder, this is by Shawn and me. So,
Dylan.
uh-huh.
It's true.
So we just say that to you because we love you guys.
We're saying that to you because we
Love swimming.
love you.
And swimming.
And swimming. And swimming. And swimming. And swimming. And swimming. And swimming.